Hey everybody, it's Brett, and thank you for dropping by or returning to my channel. So I haven't been here for a bit, and I apologize for that. October has been a crammed month with being in Spain to see our son, and then returning, and then my sister was here for a week, and then she left. The day she left, we were in New York the past 4 days because I have a friend who wrote the book to the musical of Death Becomes Her, which was a movie with, if you know, with Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep that has now been made into a musical. So we went to New York to see that, which you should absolutely see if you like the music. I mean, if you liked the movie, you will be a big fan of the musical as well. We also saw Sunset Boulevard, which is just incredible, an incredible reimagining of Sunset Boulevard in the best way, because I don't think it's the greatest musical, but this made it seem like a pretty terrific one. As well as the play Oh Mary, which was just hilarious. And lastly, the play Stereophonic, which was really great and about 40 minutes too long. But all that to say, I haven't had a lot of time to do any content. So I'm here for the rest of the year. So I hope to get back on track. And so for all of those of you who have stuck around, thank you and I appreciate it. Today, I want to talk about my third quarter favorites now that we are into our final quarter of the year, which is so crazy. So stick around and let's talk about them. All right. So the first thing I want to do is, well, two things. First, I want to shout out to the people who are doing their 10 before the end challenge. Specifically, I know I saw Read and Reread and also Noteworthy Fiction. Both have posted their 10 before the end, and I will put the links to both of their pages and their 10 before the end below in my notes. So if more of you are doing it and tag me, please let me know. And I will, on my next video, put links to yours as well. In the meantime, two things that I'm reading now that I will not finish before the end of this month, being this is almost the last day of October. I don't think I will anyway. The first is Dungeon Crawler Carl, say that 10 times fast, Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinneman. This book was out for a while, and then Ace decided to repackage them. There's now 4 of them total, and this is the first one. It is the most bizarre, crazy, hilarious book about the end of the world takes place, and the people that survive end up in basically like a Hunger Games scenario of a live video game on which everyone who is alive is a contestant. And it takes place underground in this constantly evolving and growing dungeon. It is full scale, a literary RPG novel role playing game. And it is crazy and hilarious and really fun. And I will say, if this interests you at all, and there could be some of you saying, no. But for those of you who might be interested, I will say the audio is really fantastic. You don't have to be a video gamer to play this. It is, again, really funny. Seth MacFarlane of Family Guy has been tapped to adapt this as, I believe, a series. So, anyway, it's really fun, and I'm really, really, really enjoying it. And it's unlike anything I've ever read slash listened to before. The other thing is City of Night by Jahia Kim, and thank you to Echo Books for this. This is about a dancer, a Russian dancer whose career was sidelined when she hurt herself. Years later, she comes back to dance again. The book moves between the past and the present. I started it yesterday on the plane and was immediately sucked in. It's a really compelling voice. Again, I'm not like a dance aficionado. I'm not someone who follows ballet or anything like that, but they're really well drawn characters. She's a really interesting character. This central narrative piece, really, really, really good. So, okay, so now on to my third quarter faves. I did a cheat. There's 11 here, and you'll understand why in a second. So, but otherwise, 10-ish. The first is Orbital by Samantha Harvey. Some of these are really, I'm leaning hard into the Booker list, which turned out to be some of my favorite books that I've read this year, this being one of them. Um, it's not a very long novel. It is a very quiet, internal book about a group of astronauts and cosmonauts who are circling the Earth on this final mission for this particular space station and their experience on it, what their lives were, as they also are just contemplating and thinking about life, loves, the Earth, our world. I just thought it was such a beautiful, simple, powerful book. Loved it. Next, Man Boobs by Kamel Ajazuddin. This is nonfiction. I loved this so much. Um, First of all, if you couldn't tell by the cover, it's hilarious. But Kamel, it's his story of being Pakistani and gay and growing up in Pakistan and coming to America, trying to get his American citizenship, as well as wrestling with his sexuality. It's so good and so funny and so unique. I would highly recommend it. I have one other biography in this group, and this again is something that you could totally tap into for Nonfiction November. All right, so here's my cheat, guys. These are two books, and I'm counting as one because they're one and the same. Shannon Bowring's both The Road to Dalton, which is not a new book, but the sequel to it, Where the Forest Meets the River, which is this year's book. These take place in a small Maine town. For those of you who are fans of Elizabeth Strout or Elizabeth Gilbert, these books will be right up your alley. I just loved these characters so much. I was so captivated by them. I'm so excited that she's now working on the third book in the series, but they're really, 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 really wonderful. She was also my first guest when I started my own podcast on Behind the Stack. So if you do read them, be sure to check that out. But again, really, really, really loved both of these. Speaking of loved, Garth Greenwell's Small Rain, for sure, one of my favorite books of the year. This is about a man who ends up in the hospital and what happens. It's such a very detailed account of being in the hospital, of having no control, of not knowing what's going to happen to you, of being separated from your loved ones. Also during the time of COVID, I just thought it was so amazingly astute and beautiful and said so much about life and living and loss. You could tell I really loved it. I can't say enough wonderful things about it. Again, a quiet novel. There's not these huge revelatory things, yet at the same time, really hard to put down, especially if you're a hypochondriac or anyone that has any kind of paranoia about health issues or hospitals, because it's all very real and accurate, and he just plunges you right into it. But truly, like by far my favorite Greenwell book, and I just thought it was tremendous. Okay, the other Booker book that I really, really loved, Stoneyard Devotional by Charlotte Wood. Again, beautiful contemplative novel. This one about a woman who's really getting away from her life, and she goes into this part of the Australian outback to live with a group of nuns. It's really, 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 really special. If you have a phobia of mice, this will not be the book for you at all. But beyond that, I thought it was beautiful. I don't know. I'm really responding to these very kind of internal novels that give you a lot to think about, and this certainly was one. So just really, really, really stunning. Another bio, Seen Through, A Chronicle of Sex, Drugs, and Opera by Ricky Ian Gordon. Again, loved this. I had no idea who Ricky Ian Gordon was when I started this, but wow, he is an opera composer, and this is his story. He had a relationship with Stephen Sondheim, who was very influential on him, but it's about him coming of age as a gay man, coming of age as an artist. So much of the book is about creation and what it's like to be an artist and what it's like to create and go through process and how his mind works musically. Um, I was just so taken with this and really found it honest and captivating and fascinating. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Liars by Sarah Manguso. And thank you to Hogarth Books for this. This is about the beginning and then the dissolution of a marriage. It is her story, okay? And it is raw and it is balls to the wall and it is rough. Um, it's weird because I felt like when I read this, it could be a little bit of a companion piece to the book Sailor Sailor, Claire Kilroy's book, only in the fact of what it's like to be a new mother and kind of that helplessness and the rage and all the other emotions that may come up when you're responsible for this other person. And that is in here as well. But that rage manifests even tenfold because of issues with her husband and what happens. I found this thing unputdownable. I thought it was really captivating. Some people have complained that it's too negative, and certainly it's about the end of a relationship. But I really found it to be a truly compelling narrative and absolutely loved it. There is a Rio Grande in Heaven by Ruben Reyes Jr. And thank you to Mariner Books for this copy. You know, if you've watched my channel at all, you know I'm always going on about how I'm not a fan of short stories. And this is the book, among others, but this is one of the books that I have to say I'm eating it for this because these were so self assured, inventive, and really brilliant stories. This is Ruben Reyes's first book. I just thought these were so, so, so good, talking about immigration, sexuality. It's fantastic. I cannot wait to see what he does next. I'm hoping that he does a full length novel, but we'll see. But I thought this was truly, truly, truly special. Richard Osman's We Solve Murders. Again, I've talked about this already, I know before recently, because I just read this, and I'm a big fan of the Thursday Murder Club. And I was skeptical about picking this up because I was like, oh, okay, is it really going to be that great? But it really was that great. Again, my particular experience with this book was heightened because I listened to it. And Nicola Walker, who reads this, does just a positively tremendous job. So if you're an audiobook person, check it out. My sister, I just had her listen to it and she absolutely loved it. I thought it was great. And it's just funny and light and, what I'd call a terrific palate cleanser between some of the heavier stuff you might read. Okay, and the last book, this is the crazy thing. I don't know where I put it. I had it recently. I thought I gave it to my husband. I can't find it anywhere. So I'm going to have to get a new copy of it. I actually looked for it in New York this weekend because I wanted a signed copy and I thought I could find one, but I could not. And that is Ben Shattuck's A History of Sound. This collection of short stories that are somewhat linked is one of my favorite books of the year. They're all set up around the New England area. They move through time. The stories are so well wrought. Again, I feel like this should just be an audiobook channel. The audiobook is one of the best audiobooks I've ever heard. It's done with a full cast, including Paul Mescal, Chris Cooper, Jenny Slate, who also happens to be Ben Shattuck's wife, and a host of others. I think Rebecca Lohman, really all of them in their own right, so talented and such a group of incredible actors. The first story in the collection is being made into a feature that's going to star Paul Mescal. That's the one that's read by Chris Cooper. They're absolutely stunning. They're absolutely stunning. So, and in fact, of this group of my third quarter faves, that's what I would probably say if you're going to get one book in this group, that's what I would tell you to get. History of Sound. And I didn't save it for any other reason to the end, except I just didn't have a copy of the book. But as I've thought about it, that's the one that I would recommend the most. And you could be assured that it will be on my year-end book list. So anyway, for what that's worth. So that is my 11, posing as 10 books from third quarter faves. This last 3 months is going to be anybody's guess, even as to what I'm going to read. I don't really think I'm going to pick too many specific things for November and December and make a TBR, because I have my 10 before the end that I want to finish. I still have 12 books recommended by 12 friends to go through, which I've only read 3 of those. 4 of them suck. So I have all of those. Plus, there are some things that I've got galleys of that are coming out at the beginning of the year, which I want to kind of read to see if I want to have some of these people be a guest on my podcast. So there's those as well. So I don't know what that's going to be. I don't know what I'm going to pick, which is kind of cool and kind of exciting, because then I don't find tied in to anything for the last 2 months of the year. Also, who knows what's going to happen, frankly, with this election next week. And depending, it could be, a shit show, and which is not going to make it conducive to wanting to sit down and read, except maybe on an island somewhere far away. Fingers crossed. All right. So I hope you're all having a fantastic week. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you all soon.